Hello, good-looking people as well as people who look good. This is the Action Figuratorium. My name is Mark Major. Look at the production value of this show, folks. This is a top-notch show. So a lot of you who follow the channel know that I love to do these sort of marketing analysis of people's action figure crowdfunds. I am an old school sales and marketing guy, and I now run a studio where agencies come in and shoot ads. And so this is the kind of thing that interests me, especially since I am, of course, a real big collector of toys. And I thought today would be kind of fun if we looked at the campaign from All Caps Comics Cyberfrog action figures, specifically toys made by one Ethan Van Sciver, who is a ex-DC Comics artist who has gone, you could say, rogue, and is now releasing all of his own comic books, Cyberfrog solo, through crowdfunding. He happened to have done some action figures for the comic books, and we're going to take a look at his marketing and see what his, what kind of options and features he has with his line, and we'll give it a critique. We're going to put it against our, best practices that we came up with in one of the previous episodes where we looked at a bunch of successful Kickstarters and saw what made them tick. And we're going to apply it to Ethan's, especially since his toys are now available on Big Bad Toy Store. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end about the pricing of these toys and the Indiegogo toys as well, because I think that's kind of interesting. So everybody, you need to strap on the leather and hold on tight. Bit of a disclaimer on this. I have been a follower of Ethan Van Sciver's YouTube channel for a really long time. In fact, before he even was self-publishing these crowdfunded comics, the Cyberfrog comics he's been doing, I was watching his channel back when he was strictly a guy trying to show people how to draw comics themselves. He was doing these tutorials like how to draw the Batman Who Laughs, how to draw Squirrel Girl. He was doing interviews with industry guys like, Dan Slott and Mark Waid. And he would also do these types of critiques where people would send in their own comic books, like 3 pages, and then he would look at them and, the drawing and technically see what was right or wrong about them and give them some feedback in his videos. So I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can and as fair as I can and not sort of lean one way or the other on this. But it should be known that I have been watching this cat and his YouTube channel for some time. So checking out all these toys is going to be, I think, a lot of fun for all of us. These are all on Big Bad Toy Store right now. Let's switch over to our desktop view. Yes, that is an exciting web page, people. So let's just see what the toy offering is from All Caps Comics for his Cyberfrog action figures. We have got 1/12 scale, so this guy's probably, if he's the height of a human being, he's going to be about 6 inches high. We have Cyberfrog Modern, okay? $40. Then we have a variant. You can see it's the same body, but a different paint and different head sculpt. It's Cyberfrog 90s. Okay. Then we have another variant. We've got Cyberfrog Electric Blue. And then we have another Cyberfrog variant, Deathfly Killer. And then we have another Cyberfrog variant, Blood Spattered. Not splattered, spattered. All right, and then we've got these 3 Heather Swain action figures coming in same scale, and there's one that's just regular Heather Swain. Then there's a camo variant. Then there's the All Caps Comics t-shirt variant. So 1 figure, 2 variants. Then we've got these, they're called Vespas. They're some kind of giant wasp hornet creatures from outer space. And there's a soldier and there's a forager, and if you look at them, and you can see there's the soldier, and here's what the forager looks like. You can see they're basically the same body, but a little different paint scheme. One's kind of yellow on black, one's sort of black on yellow, but they're basically, one's kind of a variant of the other in a way. So it's really kind of like I'm seeing really just 3 figures. I'm seeing a Vespa, a Cyber Frog, and a Heather Swain, and a million variants. Okay, so our best practice says this: you need something cheap at the bottom of the pyramid that everybody can buy, that everybody who wants to support you can purchase, something within everybody's range, right? Then you need something that is a little more expensive, that's considered deluxe, right? It's for people who have more money, willing to spend more money if they get more toy. And then last, you have a luxury item at the top of the pyramid. The luxury item exists for the sole purpose of being a luxury item. It is expensive, just be expensive. So with this campaign, I definitely see the Cyber Frog being the deluxe figure for 40 bucks, which is, you know, if you use kind of the Mythic Legions, their standard guys, $37. If you weigh things kind of against that in terms of these indie toys, and not necessarily compared against like a Marvel Legends or a Black Series, so they're right about the same price as the regular Mythic Legions guys. Okay, I can accept that for a deluxe, and I can definitely accept the Vespa being 76 bucks. And by the way, I want to say that these guys would probably sell to people, if they knew about them, who do not read or collect Cyber Frog, but are simply guys who want cool action figures. And I bet these fantasy action figure collectors who are into Mythic Legions, like I am, probably have some kind of a character that could ride one of these things. They probably got a saddle that they could fit on this, and they could have a goblin ride this thing. I think if All Caps were to advertise these on some other channels, I think they could sell a few. I think they could put a few in the basket for some of these collectors who are looking for just interesting, weird toys, you know. Weird toys from Japan, those kinds of guys. That's sort of what the Hornets look like. So I definitely see his deluxe and his luxury, but I'm not seeing anything cheap. And the Heather Swain would technically, at 39 bucks, be a deluxe figure. But I don't think, to my eyes, I don't think this figure looks like it's of deluxe quality. I think that this is more of a, I think that what should have been done is he probably should have taken the Heather Swain character he's going to make. He probably should have found a way through either getting rid of some paint apps or dumb down the articulation, something about it, but you should try to probably get it cheap. Also, everybody knows the old bit of wisdom from Todd McFarlane: if you're selling a boys' toy line, it's difficult to sell female action figures versus the other characters. So if this is like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you're going to sell a lot of the 4 Turtles. You're probably not going to sell as many of the April O'Neils. Sorry, Heather Swain is a bit of the April O'Neil in this bag. So what I would recommend is cheapen this cost-wise and make that the bottom of the pyramid so that everyone could get one. I would try and get Heather Swain down to like 25 bucks if I could. Whatever it took for that. Whether like, because I don't know if these come with extra, I mean, I guess I could check out and see. I don't know if these come with extra hands or extra heads or different things like that. If that's the case, maybe you get rid of the accessories and you just get a plain figure. Maybe she doesn't have all the articulation, the joints. Maybe she's got a dumbed down paint scheme. Anyways, you got to get something in this range to be cheap that everyone can afford. That's a big part of the equation. Okay, so besides that, the next thing that usually works really well for campaigns is when you have a lot of figures for people to buy. If there's a lot of options, people are like, oh, I don't know if I should get the Moose Man or the Cow Guy or the Chicken Lord, or I'm going to get one of each, that kind of thing. And this is a problem, right? Because you've got 5 of essentially the same character. I mean, it's the same body, just a different paint app and a different head. And it looks to me, I don't want to be the guy who comes out and says this, but it looks to me like this is a vanity issue. This is narcissism. This is a guy who just said, I want a toy of this, and then I want it with these hands, and then I want it with this hat, and then somebody just went totally stupid and made the same toy over and over again with the slightest amount of variation to details, and it competes with itself. It's an inventory nightmare, because every time one of these 5 guys sell, right, it should really just be one Cyber Frog that's selling. He should just have the modern Cyber Frog and not have those other ones yet. In fact, this is a huge, colossal waste of future toys, because These are ideas that you sit on, and a couple years go by, you've got something else in the works, you need a toy to go with it, bam, you've got this variation or this variant that you can now bring out. For example, let's say All Caps was going to take all of the 90s Cyberfrog comics, put them together in one omnibus, and release it. And then, of course, wouldn't it be great if the 90s Cyberfrog action figure was then available? And what you have is the toy markets the book markets the toy. You get this kind of marketing synergy, which is how big studios operate nowadays. A lot of people will quote George Lucas when he said, "The money's in the toys," you know, as if like all the money he made off Star Wars was like nothing, and the toys is what made him rich. That might have been true of those Kenner days, but nowadays with things like Star Wars and Marvel, these companies look to have the Targets and Walmarts putting all their toys up on the shelves so that people, when they walk in, they know, oh, there's a new Buzz Lightyear movie out. Oh, there's a new Marvel movie out. Oh, there's a new Star Wars show out. The toys are the advertisements now, okay? And you have to think in terms of hooking the content and all the other products, right? If they're books, if they're comics, if they're movies, if they're video games, with the toys now. You can't just slapdash anything out there. They need to work together. And this is a wasted opportunity. All these 4 extra Cyberfrogs are all completely wasted to come out with them right out of the gate. Should have saved these. Should have saved all these. Huge mistake on this. Same thing with the Heather Swain, right? You've got the mold. You can make more of the toys. When the next omnibus edition of whatever comes out and they want, you know, 90s Heather Swain, 90s Cyberfrog, bam, it's right there, but you've already blown this, okay? So the second point about the have a right amount of variation, missing that completely, went the wrong direction, self-competing. All these Heather Swains compete with themselves. Totally terrible move on the All Caps Comics people, but hopefully they will adjust course when they do their new franchise called Rainbow the Brute. Can't wait to see what that's all about, and if there's action figures. If there are action figures, please take heed, All Caps Comics, and not just like do some vanity narcissism shit where you just throw out anything that you think is cool without thinking about a big picture, big vision, years down the road, multiple products, multiple lines, that kind of thing. All right. So the only other thing that I think is kind of missing from this campaign is I don't see what I would consider a universal tchotchke, right? And that's a terrible term, but what I mean by that is it's kind of like the thing at the bottom of the pyramid. There needs to be a way for every single person out there, right, to have a Cyberfrog figure on their desk so that when they're at the computer and then whatever they're doing, they've got this figure there that's always reminding them of Cyberfrog, telling them Cyberfrog, 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 and they're playing with it. And it needs to be inexpensive and kind of cheap, and could be even kind of junky, could be just sort of, you know, like I say, a tchotchke. Could even be kind of a stick figure type thing. It needs to be like a $15, $20 thing, that like a keychain thing that everybody buys. There's like thousands of them out there. Every single person who has a desk and a computer has a little Cyberfrog on it. That's what I think is definitely missing from these campaigns, is people need to take their main character and make a super cheap version that everyone can have that sits on their desk. So that is my basic overall take on this campaign. Pretty good overall as far as the offering. Way too many variants. Totally stupid, and this guy's inventory is going to be crushed, right, when he's trying to figure out why he's got 100 of these Cyberfrogs, 200 of these Cyberfrogs, 150 of these but he still has all these sales, but he's got all this weird inventory. It doesn't really make a lot of sense as far as like having a vision of where you want to go with your toys. Now, last thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to let you guys go on kind of a, you know, thinking about the future of crowdfunding and buying toys. These figures originally were for sale on Indiegogo as a crowdfund for the same price as you see on Big Bad Toy Store. Except Big Bad Toy Store has a deal where they charge $4 flat shipping. And what that means is, if you did not back this on Indiegogo, and you took the money and you kept it in your pocket, right? And you waited 2 years or whatever it is, because it takes about 2 years to get your toys, right? You waited 2 years, you kept that money, toys are here, now they're for sale on Big Bad Toy Store, you buy them, you get the toy $40 plus extra $4 shipping. If you had done the crowdfund, you would have paid the same amount for the toy, but you would have had to pay their shipping costs, and you would have had your money tied up for 2 years, right? If you wait, you keep your money and you get it cheaper, okay? What does this mean? It means people are going to stop crowdfunding. Crowdfunders, and I see this on a lot of the action figures on Kickstarter that I covered, when they finally they fund and now they're going to be available on an e-tailer, but they're the same price, right? See that with quite a few. Same thing with the Cyberfrog toys, right? What that means is people are going to stop investing in your crowdfunds because you're not really offering them anything that they can't get 2 years from now, right? If it's just about the money, it's going to behoove them to wait. Now, there is always that thing called fear of missing out, but we can see that these guys have to put in a minimum amount of figures to get made, to get these certain prices, and they're hoping to sell off the excess stock, and they usually do. You can see on the Big Bad Toy Store that 2 of the Heather Swains were sold out. Not sure what quantities he had of all 3, but did sell through them. So if everyone's waiting, these aren't going to happen anymore. That means if you're a crowdfunder, you need to do something that is a big enough jump, because fear of missing out is not enough. You need to do something that is a big enough jump money-wise from your offering to Big Bad Toy Store. And that's a problem, because if you put Cyberfrog or Heather Swain for, say, $50, right? $50, who's going to buy it then? The more expensive your toy, right, the more it goes up, the less people who can afford it, and the more people are going to like, yeah, I'm going to pass. And they'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll find one used on eBay loose. I'm not that big of a hurry to spend $54 on on something that's might just end up in a tub, that kind of thing. People are making these decisions, especially when they're collecting hundreds of toys a year. People are going through tons of figures. Who should I back? Who should I not back? Oh, I'm just going to wait because in 2 years from now I'm going to get the same toy and I'm actually going to get it cheaper. You need to, crowdfunders, make your toys especially attractive for your crowdfunds and especially kind of expensive on the Big Bad Toy Store in order to make sure that people pre-order and invest in your campaign. That's it for this edition of the Action Figuratorium. Thank you to everybody who made it this far in the video, and I just want everybody to stay charged.